Welcome back, radio entrepreneurs, listeners, and fans. I'm producer Nathan Gobes, filling in for JDavis this morning. Excited to bring you into the new year with one of our regular reporters, Marc Z of Marc Z Legal Staffing. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks, Nathan. Happy, healthy, and very prosperous new year to you and your family.
Thank you, Marc. Appreciate it. I know there's a lot going on in the news. I'm sure people are hearing all kinds of things about it, but why don't you talk to us about what people should be doing?
Well, first of all, the whole idea of a vaccine that we had last year, Nathan, was to hopefully have some kind of return to what we had hoped would be somewhat normal. And now there's the Omicron variant that is added to the Delta variant, and now it's caused a lot of situations that are affecting our economy, the employment workplace, and people's personal lives. And every day in the news, whether it's social media, whether it's radio, TV, we're hearing flight cancellations, we're hearing schools delayed openings, we're hearing bus drivers that take kids to school are calling in sick, teachers calling in sick, employees that are expected at their new jobs or at their existing jobs, they're calling out sick or delayed start dates. So our new year is being transitioned into a continuous issue of COVID, and everybody's trying to figure out from a business standpoint, whether it's if you have a restaurant or if you have a store, there are new rules. This morning, for example, I went in and got my coffee at a place I regularly go to, and right after COVID, they said if you've been vaccinated, you can come in without a mask. And in fact, their employees that were vaccinated came in without a mask and worked without a mask. And now everybody was back on with masks. So What I just wanted to do is talk about practical updates, because everybody is over COVID newsed. And so just some practical tips. So for example, your coworker may have gotten COVID, your roommate, spouse, partner may have gotten COVID, and now you're at home and you're trying to make it work with everybody, because everybody has their responsibilities. That you may have to go to work, you may have to take care of your child. And so what are some practical tips? And the Globe came up with a few to help people. If somebody is tested positive and they have COVID and you're living with that person, first of all, that person should notify you and notify anybody who was exposed during the last 3 days that they have COVID. Then if you're at home and you've tested and now you've tested positive, and you let your roommates or spouse know, try to have a barrier. If you can ideally be at a different room, isolate the person who has COVID. Wear masks. Even if you both have COVID, wear masks, because you may have somebody at a different stage of recovery, who had one spouse who then gave it to another spouse, so you both got it, but you're different, or your roommate. So masks, isolation, and ideally, if you're in a bigger living space, separate bathrooms, because those are areas that are infected. Obviously, if you can keep in isolation and not be going all around the living establishment, that will help too. Also, let your work establishment know your situation. If obviously you have COVID, now it's 5 days isolating versus 10, but then let your office know what they would like you to do. Some, for example, new employees are delaying their start date. Some employers are letting, as soon as they have that information, letting employees know that somebody that worked with you has tested for COVID. So you might want to test and then self-isolate. So the goal is now not spreading it. And this COVID, even if you've been fully vaccinated, it's breaking through. And in some cases, thank goodness, even though if you've been fully vaccinated, it's not going to be as severe as far as hospitalization or potentially death, it's still, people are getting very sick and ill. And if you can take some practical tips, it's really, really helpful.
Yeah, those are some good practical tips. Like you said, people are hearing about it all the time on the news, but I think less and less is being talked about, what to do when you get it. So thank you, Mark. These are some good tips.
No, pleasure. The other thing, Nathan, is in terms of employers, they are trying to balance between staying open and operable in order to retain people's jobs or to be fair to the employee, but at the same time, for example, with law firms addressing clients' needs and being receptive, or companies keeping the business going that needs to be done, or in the case of restaurants and retail stores, being able to remain open at the same time balancing between sicknesses. And that's forcing, again, we've talked about cancellation of flights. We've talked about a lot of now employers saying, we're not going to give a return date for when we're going to, quote, mandatorily come back. It's now on a voluntary basis that people can come into the office. So I think that employers are rethinking, and everybody is a wait and see in terms of this variant, but you have to take practical steps not to spread it, not to get it, or even further, staying healthy so your coworkers don't get it and can be there if you can't be there.
Yeah, I know that's a tough line that a lot of employers have to walk between, in person versus at home, and hopefully most employers are, end of the day looking at employees' health as the bottom line.
So, I mean, the last thing is, again, if you can, I mean, obviously people have reasons why they can't get it, and those are ones that they'll share with their employer and will get an exemption. But if you can get a vaccine and you don't have an exemption, please get the vaccine, because it not only will really help you and your family, but it will also help your coworkers just in terms of, and your family and friends. So you can at least have a life that lead a life in an everyday fashion as healthy as possible.
Yeah, those are some good tips, Mark. And I know that we here at the Radio Entrepreneur Studio also stress the importance of the vaccine, help everybody get back to normal. I want to thank you for joining today. If listeners or viewers want to get in touch with you, want to see more about Marc Z Legal Staffing, where can they do so?
Well, first of all, Google Marc Z, M-A-R-C and the letter Z, and we'll come right up. And, a lot of people have been touching base with us through our site, and we monitor it morning, noon, and night, or all during the day, before work, afterwards. So we are 24/7. Or go to marczlegal.com, MARCZLEGAL.com, or 617-338-1300.
I want to thank you again, Mark, for joining. Always important and topical stuff that you have to share with us. And I know you'll be back next week. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.